back to my channel. This is Prepping by Faith, and today I'm going to show you how I package up my flour and sugar for long-term storage. So what I have here is 48 pounds of flour, and then I have 30 pounds of sugar. I'm going to be packaging it up into these 1 gallon Mylar bags. I will not need as many as I have over here, but I had to grab another package. And then I have over here a jar of my 200cc oxygen absorbers that we will be using in this. I did want to mention that the flour, once we package it up, should be good for 10 to 15 years, and sugar is a forever food, so that one will last indefinitely. And with my sugar, I do not put oxygen absorbers inside of it because it will turn it hard like a brick. That is something that you can do. I have seen where people do that, and that's fine if you want to do that. You just need to have some sort of a tool, like a grate or something, to kind of shave that sugar back down when you go to open it and use it. So here in my state, it is very dry, and I'm also at a much higher elevation because I am in Colorado, so I don't worry about things like that. And once I'm done packaging these up, they will go inside of a Gamma Vault that I have. So we're going to get started on this in just a moment. I did want to mention a couple other things. For most people, I would probably recommend that you go ahead and do this. You're going to want to take your flour and freeze it in batches, and then go ahead and let that air dry. And that is so that you kill off any egg larvae from bugs that could potentially be inside of this flour. Now, me personally, I have never witnessed this, and I think a lot of it has to do with what I was talking about, my climate where I am so dry, and then the altitude. So they don't have that environment really conducive to help them hatch. And the other thing is that once you go ahead and you put that inside of these bags, when you remove the oxygen with the oxygen absorbers, that should prevent any of those from hatching further anyway. And that is also going to create the proper environment. We're going to remove all of the oxygen from the bags so that the food will last a lot longer. Now, obviously, like I said, sugar is going to be a forever food. So the only way that the sugar would really go bad is if you didn't package it properly to where it was moisture free and it was in a cool, dark place. So that's the other thing you want to do, is find proper storage area to put this stuff. So we are going to get started with the packaging of these items. Hey guys, so got the flour. Flour is in these bags. I filled it up to, I want to say probably about 1.5 inches from the top of the zipper line. I do like to go ahead and get the ones with the zippers because I feel like that just gives you another added layer of protection. So I'm just going to get zip locked, but then it's also going to get sealed. And so I ended up having just a tiny little bit of flour left in the bottom of one of the bags. So we have here, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these 1 gallon size Mylar bags. So as you can see, about 1.5 inches or so full. So I have my oxygen absorbers right here, and we're going to be putting 3 of these into each one. So each bag is going to get 600 cc's. And then they are going to get zip locked up. And then I'm going to show you how we handle the rest of this process. So if you want to, I actually solicited my husband for some help for this. It's easier if you have 2 people. So with these bags, if you have somebody kind of helping to hold the bag open while the other person is shaking the flour down inside of them, it makes it much easier. The other thing I want to mention, and I hope he's checking this real quick, is that with each of these, you want to make sure that they are still bendable. They're not really hard. They're not dried out. These should be bendable when you go ahead and pull them out of here. So we're going to be putting these in here as quickly as we can. I'm going to go ahead and help him get these in there and zipped up. You don't want to mess around a lot when you go to do this process. So the other thing is, when you are filling these, you can kind of shake that down because the flour needs to settle in there. And so that'll give you a little bit more space. And that's kind of how we did it. I just shook it around a lot and kind of thumped it up and down on the countertop to really get that flour down into the bottom corners of the bag. So that way you have as much flour packed in there as possible and very little space for the oxygen. So this is what we're doing. We're going to seal these up. I'm going to show you how to do the Mylar. I got to get my lid back on these real quick. Okay, so what I have here is just an old straightener that I don't use for my hair anymore. It's been relegated to this task alone. And here is one of the bags of flour. So in theory, because we did Ziploc this along this bottom, it should be sealed up, but this is just an added layer of protection. So what I'm going to do is I just kind of go along the top and kind of get a few crimps in here before I go ahead and start sealing this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of start dragging this across, and I don't go down too far, because what I can do eventually is, if I want to go ahead and reuse this bag at a later date once the flour is out of it, we can then go ahead and cut off this area where it has been sealed, and it can be used again. And we can go ahead, so we would just cut along here, and then this part up here could be sealed one more time, and then eventually, even after that, you could still reuse this bag. You would just have to come down. We would no longer have this zipper area available to us, and the bag would not hold quite as much. But I'm just going to go ahead. I like to go over this just a few times just to make sure that I definitely got this completely sealed along the top. And then I'm not going to show you kind of how I do all of these, because there's no point in showing you guys how I do this 15 times. So this is done, this is ready to go, and I'm going to show you how I label them in just a moment. Alrighty guys, so what I like to do to label my bags is I just take a little piece of masking tape, and then I write what it is that I put inside of the bag and the date. I just put 9/22 because we're so close to the end of August that I didn't figure a few days would make much of a difference. So I went ahead and labeled them this way. And that is so that later on, these are not written directly on. I can just pull this off, and then I can reuse this bag without having to worry about this date being permanently marked on the bag. And we're going to go ahead and let these set out for a couple of days just to make sure I can get them as flat as possible before trying to pack them inside of the Gamma Vault that I have. And I did want to mention something to you guys. I'm going to be linking another video that I did several months back for you, and that was from Pack Fresh USA, and it talks a lot about the myths and misconceptions surrounding Mylar. It talks about the structural integrity, it talks about see-through tests and pinholes, and one of the other things that it mentions, and I really want to bring this up because I think it's a really valid point and we don't talk about it in the community, is the fact that while oxygen absorbers absorb oxygen, they do not absorb air. So you may have instances where these don't look as sucked in as possible. That does not mean that all of the oxygen was not removed, because air is only made up of 21% oxygen. So it only removes about 1/5 of the air, and 4/5 of the air is still going to remain in these bags no matter what you guys do. And I wanted you guys to be aware of that because I think it's really important. We don't talk about it. And so you may go ahead and pack these up correctly, and some of them may just not look as vacuum sucked in as other ones do, and that does not mean that those bags do not have that oxygen removed. I just wanted you guys to be aware of that. So we're going to let these set for a couple of days, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you them packed inside of the Gamma Vault that I have. Okay, so I just wanted to share with you why I go ahead and package these into these 1 gallon size Mylar bags the way that I do, and that is for a couple of reasons. The first one is just because I find that when we go to open these, we are going to go through a 1 gallon bag a lot quicker than we would say something like a 5 gallon. So rather than have it exposed to the elements when I get inside of it so many different times, it makes more sense to put it into these smaller packages. The other reason is that if something were to be wrong with any of these, I would lose a lot less food. So if they're in these 1 gallon ones, and let's say there were bugs in it for some reason, or moisture had gotten in there somehow, then I would lose a lot less food if it was just in a 1 gallon bag versus a 5 gallon bag. So I do know that a lot of people take these and they place them inside of food grade buckets. That is something else that you can do with a Gamma lid. The other thing, some people do go ahead and take this and dump it directly inside of the large Gamma Vaults that are also food grade safe. So that is something that you can do, but like I said, I would rather package it into these smaller amounts instead of having a large container that I'm going to have to constantly get in and out of and expose it to, more air and more moisture. So that is why I do this, and I just wanted to share that little bit of information with you guys. All right, guys, so here we go. I got all of the flour in there. I can only get one of the bags of sugar because I did actually have another extra bag of flour that was hanging out. So this is a 60-pound Gamma Vault that I have right here. So it has about 60 pounds in it. This is what it looks like. Just stack them on up in there, and then we're going to be going ahead and screwing down the lid. And that is it for the rest of this food storage. So there you have it. If you guys have enjoyed this video, please give me a like, share, and subscribe. And remember to pray, prep, and put God first.